This week on Africa Weekly, we head to Nigeria, where 100 elephants living in the Omo forest are under threat from deforestation. Then we head to Nairobi's National Museum, where the bone structure of a previously unknown prehistoric carnivore has been rediscovered in the bowels of the museum, a long-forgotten discovery in this historical treasure trove. But first, let's take a look at the stories that made the headlines this week. At least 5 people were killed on Tuesday after a fuel tanker exploded in the centre of Mali's capital, Bamako. The truck overturned and, in so doing, caused an explosion. At least 15 people were wounded in the accident, which took place on a major artery in the city of Bamako. Senegal's influential Mouride Brotherhood inaugurate a 30,000 capacity mosque in the capital Dakar, touted as the largest in West Africa and rivalling its opulent peers in Arab nations. Work on the Masalikul Jinan Mosque, meaning the paths to paradise, began a decade ago on land donated by the government of this 90% Muslim nation and is very much a homegrown project.
On n'a pas eu de dons extérieurs.
We didn't receive any external donations. Everything is done by the Talibé, the members of this brotherhood, and Muslims in general.
Les musulmans d'une manière générale.
The movement is reflected of Senegal's reputation for religious tolerance, and the name derives from the Arabic word for one who desires to learn. Its philosophy preaches service to humanity in addition to upholding the principles of Islam. 7 children died and scores were injured early Monday when a school building collapsed in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, in an accident blamed on shoddy construction. Hundreds of angry residents at Dagoretti, a poor suburb where many live in makeshift homes, swarmed around the site. Numerous buildings have collapsed in Nairobi and other Kenyan towns, with deadly results in recent years, as the country experiences booming growth in the construction industry, with contractors cutting corners or bypassing regulations through corruption. In April 2016, almost 50 people were killed when a 6th-floor building collapsed in the northeast of the capital. Rescue teams at a city in southern Sierra Leone struggled Thursday to reach labourers buried under a building that collapsed as they were working on it. The 3-storey building crashed on Wednesday in Bo, the country's second largest city, located about 250 kilometres from the capital, Freetown. More than 80 people were scheduled for work on the site at the time. Britain's Prince Harry planted a baobab tree in Botswana during a visit to the famous Chobe National Park. He declared climate change a race against time and used the opportunity to highlight the campaign work of teen activist Greta Thunberg. Harry said the facts of climate change were now indisputable. On the second leg of his African tour, the Duke planted the tree in an area that suffered deforestation from both humans and the huge elephant population. The Prince will travel to Angola and Malawi before reuniting with his family early next week and returning home on the 2nd of October.
In southwest Nigeria's Omo forest, these rangers are watching over one of the area's last nature reserves. The patrol's task is to protect a rarely spotted species, the forest elephant, a notoriously elusive relative of its larger cousins in the African savanna regions.
Human activity like farming are a major challenge. The elephants are scared of humans, and as such they take to flight, so it becomes difficult to actually trap them.
This archive footage shows the presence of elephants here in the forest, just 60 miles from Lagos. It's thought that 100 of the mammals live here. However, their survival is at risk, owing in large part to deforestation. The guards are compiling a growing list of trucks spotted carrying harvested trees, even in the area that is home to the elephants.
Removing trees in elephant habitat is exposing them, whereby they will not be comfortable. They want to look for a better cover, so it displaces them from their original home to somewhere else.
Much of the forest is a UNESCO-protected biodiversity site. but not all of it. To cater to Nigeria's ever-expanding population, sections of the forest remain open for legal commercial activity by workers in the local villages. Some people are dependent on having access to the forest and its trees.
I don't have any other work.
I was unemployed. That's why I came to settle in the forest. I cleared a little corner to plant cocoa. When the cocoa starts growing, I water it and take care of it. And when it's ready, I harvest it myself and sell it. So growing cocoa here is the only way I have to feed my family.
The rangers face a difficult balancing act, protecting these animals while also allowing the villagers to make a living. It's a major challenge, but the survival of the last Nigerian forest elephants depends on their success. Deep in the storage of Nairobi's National Museum, this unassuming drawer contains an archaeological gem. The giant jawbone of Africa's largest ever predator, a prehistoric carnivore 3 times larger than a polar bear. At 23 million years old, this discovery made headlines the world over and is considered essential for developing understanding of the evolution of mammals.
It shows the wealth of Africa in terms of our past ecosystems and what used to be in Africa, and we can do reconstructions of the environment from these, the possible diets from these, and what other animals they would have interacted with.
But this important fossil was not unearthed this year. It had actually been in the museum for over 40 years before it was recognised as a new species. Museum staff knew the bones were something special. They just didn't know exactly what, and lacked the resources to properly investigate. There are only 7 paleontologists in Kenya.
99% of those people who work here are foreigners, foreign people. So it would be important for people in Kenya to understand the importance of this to the country and venture or study things to do with human origins and evolution.
The museum has not changed much since the 1960s, when famed paleontologist Louis Leakey first started stockpiling his findings. A card-based, handwritten filing system is still in place. These crocodile skeletons are another important asset of the museum, which have helped further understand the evolution of animals and the landscapes they inhabited.
This is a skull of a modern crocodile, and I want to show you at about 3 million years the kind of crocodiles that used to exist during that time.
Between 7,000 and 10,000 new fossils arrive in the museum's laboratory every year, and the task of cleaning and logging each specimen is painstaking. With a backlog that could yet take years to work through, the hope is that many more unidentified evolutionary treasures lie in wait.
Residents of Bangui attended one of the first screenings of Camille in the Central African Republic. The film recounts the last months of the life of the young French photojournalist Camille Lepage, who was killed on the 6th of May 2014 whilst accompanying militiamen on patrol in the provinces during the civil war that tore the country apart.
It was very touching to see this film again, because it reminded me a lot of the events of 2013. I am a victim. I was shot by the Balaka. Unfortunately, it was not the Seleka, but the Balaka who shot me when I lived in Boirabe. They came to rob us, and then I was shot in the foot.
And finally, Ivory Coast's best makeup artists are brushing up their skills, ready to compete in the nation's first makeup festival in November, keen to prove there's more to the industry than meets the eye. Over 3,000 people are expected to visit the 3-day event held in Abidjan.
I realised there are fashion shows, but no artistic makeup shows. So during this show, people will discover another side of makeup, another aspect of the industry they didn't know existed.
That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.